What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel. And tomorrow night, another must-win game. At home to Chelsea with a chance to go 4 points clear of our main title rivals, Manchester City. Look, I know that Liverpool beat Fulham away and did so quite convincingly, and I was disappointed to see it because I really thought that Fulham, the way they've been playing this season, might cause them more problems. But the truth is, up against Liverpool, if Manchester City do fall away, we have such a superior goal difference that the title is very much in our own hands, which is simply not the case against Manchester City. After all, if they win all of their remaining 6 games, they will be champions whatever happens in the remaining 5 games we play. So tomorrow's game could be a chance for us to put a little bit of daylight between us and Man City before they go to the Amex on Thursday to play Brighton. And as much as I would love to see Brighton pull out a fantastic performance, maybe get a draw and cause City to drop points at a vital time in the run-in, honestly, given the way they're playing at the moment and how they played against us, I can only really see Man City winning that game. Man City do have some other banana skins coming up, but if we drop points, they will probably gain enough confidence to do what they seem to do every season, and that is finish really strongly. And one of the reasons that I think they finish really strongly is down to rotation. They just seem better able to bring in players for their star players so that those players are at their best when needed, which is illustrated brilliantly by this chart, which is a list of the players who've played the most minutes out of the top 3 sides. And right at the top of the table is William Saliba, who was in the Evening Standard today talking about how he is feeling tired. And why wouldn't he? He has played every minute of every Premier League game for us. Behind him is Declan Rice, and I have to say, you would expect that tiredness would be creeping into his legs, but given the runs he was making into the penalty area, deep into injury time against Wolverhampton Wanderers, it doesn't seem to be affecting him at all. After that, you have Martin Odegaard, and his performances in the last 5 games have shown no sign of a dropping off whatsoever. After that, you have Virgil van Dijk, but then Gabriel, who again is looking to grow into this season rather than fall away. Although over the last month or so, there have definitely been times where it seems like he's been playing through injury. He seems to have recovered from that. Then there's Bukayo Saka, and that's where I think we really need to have this discussion about potentially dropping someone. People have been asking the question, does he play in the big matches? Is he playing well enough at the moment to maintain that first team position? Well, look, his performances haven't been bad, but where there has been a significant drop-off is in attempted dribbles and successful dribbles. We've lost a little bit of his electric pace on the right, and with Ben White also on this list, just below him, you can see how that right-hand side is lacking a little bit of energy. Ben White is probably less droppable because you really only have Tomiyasu and Cedric Suarez who can play, unless you want to go back to the start of the season where Thomas Partey was in at right back, and that didn't really work. So Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, I think all have to start. You don't want to mess with a defence as good as this at the moment, and I don't know if Chelsea are going to pose that kind of attacking threat anyway. Whether or not Kivior starts at left back or he brings Zinchenko back in, Zinchenko seems out of favour and out of form and defensively vulnerable in a way that he's often been criticised for, but it's starting to show now. Jurrien Timber, by the way, just scored an absolutely beautiful goal in the under-21s game against Blackburn in the 8th minute, a wonderfully curling right-footed shot into the top right corner. So with Arteta saying that he might be available for the Spurs game, lots to be excited about there. But realistically, are we going to change that back four? If Declan Rice is playing as well as he did in the last minutes of Wolverhampton, then you leave him in. Possibly with Jorginho coming back into the team, he's been rested, or perhaps maintaining Kai Havertz, who I thought was outstanding against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Does so much so well and was still managing to get into space. And again, a fantastic energy and no sign of a drop-off from him. Although, of course, on this list he doesn't appear. So he has played fewer minutes this season and arguably is ready for the run-in. So Bukayo Saka, would he benefit from a rest before the big match on Sunday at 2 o'clock against Spurs, where we're really going to need him to shine? He is, after all, our star boy, and when he's on song, he's incredibly difficult to live with, often double marked just to keep him out of the game. So given Bukayo Saka has not really been at his best in the last 6 games, not playing badly, but not quite what we need from him, and given that we are almost certainly going to need him at something approaching his best in the last 5 games, at some point we are going to need Bukayo Saka magic. Does it make sense to drop him against a Chelsea team who ship goals? Even though they played incredibly well against Manchester City, I think a lot of that was down to fatigue City. And of course, Pep Guardiola and Bernardo Silva all complaining about the amount of minutes they've had to play, even though they've played fewer games than us. In the recent game against Real Madrid, apparently, and I don't know how true this is, both Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland asked not to play, and Rodri, of course, asking to be left out against Luton, just demonstrates how it's important that some of these players get a rest. Or is the opposite true? Is it true that Bukayo Saka grew into the Wolverhampton Wanderers game, started to look better towards the end, and dropping him would only upset his rhythm just as he's about to come back into form? It is an incredibly difficult decision. For me, I think it's a kind of decision that Pep Guardiola has been making really well for the last 4 years. He tends to know exactly when to leave a player out. Arteta, by contrast, wants his players to play through it. I can understand how, if you're watching this thinking, well, how can you drop Bukayo Saka when really the only options are Reece Nelson, who's barely played and hasn't looked great when he does, Fabio Vieira, who he's tried on the right with no impact whatsoever, and Gabby Jesus, who definitely prefers playing on the left. Perhaps Kai Havertz could play on the right, but it's not a position he's played particularly often for us or well. And I really think that he plays far more successfully in the middle of the pitch. Is the fact that we don't have anyone to come in for Bukayo Saka going to mean that he has to play? I'd love to hear what you think. For me, I think this is one of the toughest decisions. I don't buy into the idea that Bukayo Saka is not as good as everyone says he is. He has played more minutes since he started playing for Arsenal than any other player in the 5 top leagues, bar one. And when you add to that the fact that he plays for his country whenever he's fit, and the Champions League and cup games that he's played, look, this is the kind of decision that makes or breaks careers. If Arteta leaves him out tomorrow and whoever he brings in doesn't play particularly well, fingers point. If he plays him and he has another, not lackluster, but certainly not massively impressive game, then are we just heaping up problems? Will he be not quite fit enough to have the impact we need him to have against Spurs? That Spurs game is so important to our title run-in because it is the one massive game that could be a banana skin for us. But apart from that, we've got Bournemouth at home, Everton at home, and Manchester United away, who you've got to fancy us to beat them, even at their place. Look, Manchester United, what can you say? They're losing a 3-0 lead to Coventry doesn't exactly make for the kind of team that we should be frightened of. Do we rest Bukayo Saka to have him fit for those games where he can make a massive difference, or do we keep him in the side? And I want to hear from you because I'll be honest with you, it is on a knife edge, this one. I think if I'm Mikel Arteta, I'll be brave. I think I'd play Jesus, Kai Havertz and Martinelli up front with Trossard to come on as a super sub. And after all, he could play on the right if we need him to anyway. I don't want to risk an injury to Bukayo Saka because I think with Destiny Udogie out for the rest of the season, Tottenham's left-back position is an area of weakness which a fully fit Bukayo Saka could most definitely exploit. He was one of our better players when we played them at home, and you know, it's easy to forget just how important Bukayo Saka is to us given the way he's playing at the moment. And let's not forget, Bukayo Saka is our star boy for a reason. The work he does defensively is really important, but a fully fit, energised player running down that right, I think we're going to need him. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. Do you play Saka or do you rest him? Does a rest do him good? Is Arteta right in saying that actually you don't want to interfere with the rhythm of players and you just keep playing them? After all, look, it's 5 games to go to become Premier League champions for the first time in 20 years. I still very much believe it's on. I think whatever happens tomorrow, whether you play Saka or you rest him, we should have enough to beat a Chelsea side that pull out a great game against Manchester City whenever they need to. Let me know in the comments how you feel. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe and click like. And my prediction for tomorrow's match is that it will mirror this time last season where with 5 games to go, we had Chelsea at home and beat them 3-1. I know this Chelsea side are a little bit better than last year, but only a little bit. And frankly, with the way they miss chances. After all, they are going to be dejected and despondent, and their entire season is over. Any chance they had of playing in Europe is gone, and I don't know if this Chelsea side care enough about stopping us winning the title. I'm pretty sure Tottenham will, but I think we'll get past Chelsea tomorrow, and if we've rested Bukayo Saka, a mouth-watering game on Sunday, which is going to be pivotal to our season, and also could be the game in which we can celebrate St Totteringham's Day. So, till I see you after the game tomorrow against Chelsea, be lucky. Lots of love.